Greetings, guys, girls, non-binary pals, and welcome back to another video. Recently, I was reminded of this fantastic little account on Twitter that posts the most ridiculous stuff, including some fantastic right-wing memes, called End Wokeness. And I was just going through their account because I find it really amusing and decided that obviously I had to do a video about them because I need to share this with you because they post some of the most just like ridiculous stuff. So here I am, ready to look at this little corner of Twitter that is just so stupid and ridiculous. But before we get into it, I would like to say a massive thank you to today's patron of the day, Adeline. I appreciate you greatly. Thank you so much for joining. If you would like to become Patreon, you can go to patreon.com/savvycat or click the link in the description. It starts at as little as £1 a month for videos and podcasts early. So if you're interested in that, then that means a lot. So thank you. Also, before we get into it, I want to let you know that today's video is sponsored by LELO, and I will tell you more about them a little bit later on. So let's get into the super fun tweets. Why are kids so screwed up these days? What are we doing wrong? And then there's a photo of kids in school in like the 50s, probably, versus kids today holding up pride flags. And something I find astonishing about this image is that the photo on the left, they were allowed to like cane kids, you know, they were allowed to physically hit children at school for just being disobedient. So they were obedient, but they were obedient out of fear, you know? They were afraid. They weren't allowed to act out at all. They weren't allowed to express themselves freely. They weren't allowed to do anything of free will or have any sort of pride or creativity or outlet or uniqueness because it was literally beat out of them. Whereas on the left, kids celebrating pride is just kids celebrating pride. I don't see the issue with it. Like, kids are accepting and celebrating that there are people who are different. And not even that, because some of these kids could be queer themselves, you know? And they will love to say, like, they're being brainwashed into thinking they're gay. All of these kids are gonna be gay. But it's like, no. We celebrate differences at school for forever. Back home, a lot of schools do like culture weeks where, you know, each day is dedicated to, or each class is dedicated to learning about a different culture and traditions from a different culture. And learning about that and celebrating other cultures. And I never for a minute thought that I was of a different culture or ethnicity or anything like that. I just learnt that it is good to celebrate differences. The only sort of time I ever, you know, wanted to be a part of a culture that I wasn't or whatever was I really loved Indian dancing as a child, like Bollywood dancing. I loved the bright colors. I loved the music. I loved it. And I said when I was older, I wanted to be an Indian dancer because it was just such a fun, cool thing. Am I aware that I am not Indian? Yes. Was I aware at the time I wasn't Indian? Yes. Did I just enjoy the celebration and the colors and the dance? Yes. Did it change who I am as a person? No. It just meant that I enjoyed celebrating someone else's culture. And you were able to immerse yourself in someone else's culture and celebrate someone else's culture without believing you were a part of it. And nothing is going to make you believe you are a part of it, you know? Like, and I know that that's different, but it's not that different. Megan Fox has 3 sons that all dress like girls. I'm sure it's just a coincidence. And Ben Shapiro quote retweeted with, "The genetic bottleneck in Hollywood is one of the great mysteries of evolutionary biology, or it's a social contagion fostered by fucked up parents. One of the two. Or clothes are not gendered." That's another option, I think, is that clothes aren't gendered. Some boys like pink, some girls like blue, some boys want to wear dresses, some girls want to wear suits. Like, they can wear whatever they want. These kids are not dressed to any they're just wearing clothes. What is this? They're all dressed like girls? What, you mean they have long hair? Is that what, like, to kids are wearing black shirts with sweatpants. Can you tell me how that's gendered? They just have long hair. And can you tell me how that's gendered? Men have had long hair for a very, very, very long time. It's got nothing to do with gender. They just have long hair. Can you please get over it? Yeah? They're just kids wearing what they want to wear. When I was a child and I dressed myself, I wore 4 skirts at one time. I wore them, like I wore a skirt as a top, then I wore a skirt in the middle, and then I wore a skirt as like my bottoms. Even when I was like 12 years old, I wore a skirt as a top because they did it in a Victorious episode and I was like, I want to do that. So I did. I went through a phase of wearing my pajamas literally everywhere. Literally everywhere. I was just in my pajamas. My parents didn't control what I wore. I got to choose what I wore. And they were like, you can deal with the embarrassment of that later on in your life. That's fine. I always just wore what I wanted. And for the longest time, my favorite thing were Crocs. But not just Crocs. I had 2 different colored Crocs. I had a red Croc and a blue Croc for like 2 years. When I was like 8. That's what I did. And like, because that's what I wanted to wear. It had nothing to do with anything other than that's what I thought was cool. That's what I wanted to do. My sister went through a thing when she was 4 where she had to wear headbands. Like a ton of hairbands. She had a collection of hairbands and most of them were like really glittery. And she would wear like 8 of them at a time. She just covered her whole head in hairbands. And then we went to take like a passport photo and they told her she had to take them off because they were glittery. And so in her passport photo, she is crying because they told her she had to take off her hairbands. Because kids wear what they want to wear and it has nothing to do with their gender. And maybe these kids are trans. I don't know. I don't know anything about Megan Fox's kids. But their clothes don't determine that or show you that at all. And their hair also absolutely does not. Here is another Ben Shapiro tweet because Ben Shapiro loves to end wokeness, and wokeness loves Ben Shapiro. You know, they go hand in hand together. And he said, everyone who identifies as LGBTQ plus is born that way. Pure genetic issue. There is no social or environmental aspect to this behavior among literally all behaviors on this planet. And then he pulled out a graph that shows trend in LGBT identification by generation of US adults 2012, 2017, and 2021. And it shows, you know, like a drastic increase between 2017 and 2021. Hey, Ben, have you seen the left-handed graph that everyone always uses in all of your replies? I'm sure you've seen it. In the 20-year period of when they stopped punishing people for writing with their left hand and allowed people to be left-handed, there was an exponential growth in how many people were left-handed. Like a massive growth. And now, do you think that's because more people were born left-handed? Or do you think that people were no longer punished for being left-handed so they could now write with their left hand? Because I'm going for the latter. Like my auntie, who is 63, yeah, 63, she's left-handed, but she had no idea. She didn't even know. She was always told she had to write with her right hand, so she was forced to be right-handed her entire life and realized much later on in life that actually left-handed is much more comfortable for her, but she was never allowed to do that. She wasn't ever allowed to be left-handed. And that was even like after this. That was in the 60s when this was like peaked. She still wasn't allowed to write with her left hand. That was like sort of like she was told she wasn't allowed to do that. So like, yeah, left-handedness increased, but only because people were allowed to be left-handed. In nature, poisonous creatures will often develop bright colors to warn others of their toxicity. Okay, and I would like you to tell me why. To tell me why they're poisoned. To tell me why they're brightly colored and why they're poisoned. It is to stop predators from harming them. Yeah? So they are brightly colored so that predators don't harm them. They are poisonous so that predators will leave them alone and not harm them. And then on top of that, not even all creatures that are brightly colored are poisonous. They have just learned that if they are brightly colored, predators will think that they're poisonous and avoid them. So basically the only point you have proven here is that you're predators, you intend to harm people, and we are just defending ourselves and keeping you away. But we will hurt you if you try to harm us. So like the logical thing to do there, if you're gonna use this analogy, is leave us the fuck alone. Don't try to kill us. And we won't try to kill you in self-defense. So, like, I don't know what you thought this analogy was doing, But you kind of just proved our point of like, we literally aren't fucking doing anything until you try to kill us. And then we fight back. So like, leave us the fuck alone, and maybe we'll leave you alone too. And also, the colorful hair dye thing, it works. You are right, it does work like that. Conservative people don't really have that much interest in me, which is great because I don't have any interest in them. So it works in keeping predators away. It really does. It's very effective. You are correct, but like, I don't think you proved the point that you thought you were going to. Now, I'm going to take a quick pause here to tell you about today's sponsor, LELO Dot, purely because I know that they would absolutely hate me telling you about this, and that brings me so much joy. So that is what I'm going to do right now. LELO Dot is your new best friend. Look how beautiful she is. I am in love with this design and with this color, but we'll get into that in a moment. LELO Dot is an external vibrator that has pinpoint stimulation that is really nice and flexible, so it's not like hurting, you know? Sometimes they're like too hard and it kind of like hurts. This is nice and flexible, it's bendy, it's soft, so there's not any like pressure or like hard metal pressing against you. It also has LELO's fantastic cruise control technology, which means that it holds off 20% of its power while it's just being normally used. But you know, when it starts to get really intense and you push it more into your body, it releases that extra 20% of power so that when it's being pushed into your body, it doesn't lose any intensity, which is so fantastic because, you know, nothing worse than getting really into it and then you can't feel it anymore. So that is a really fantastic feature of LELO Dot. On top of that, she is just so nice to hold. She's got this nice loop, so she fits really nicely in your hand. Beautiful color, like I said. It kind of reminds me of a peacock feather, and I am absolutely like in love with this design and how nice it feels. I highly recommend trying her out. She has been my go-to grab side of the bed, you know, kind of vibe recently. And I do highly recommend you trying her. There are 8 different settings at many different intensities, so you can tailor it perfectly to your experience and have something that works for you and is the best for you. You can incorporate it into your solo time or into your partnered time, whatever is going to work best for you. It also is just like a nice, you know, it feels really nice, so it can be used kind of like everywhere as just like a nice sensation to get you more into the zone. You know, it can be used on any erogenous zones or just anywhere. It's like a really nice light feeling, so it can add a little bit of spice, spruce it up in your alone time, in your partner time, wherever, whenever. I highly recommend you try her out. If you are interested, then you can check the link in my description. I promise you, you will not regret it. She's a fantastic addition to your bedroom, and I highly recommend you check her out. Thank you, LELO, for sponsoring today's video, and let's get back into it. If we want to get religion out of our schools, let's start with these first. And it's a pride flag and a Black Lives Matter flag inside of a classroom. And I don't think you understand that neither of these things are religions. They're just about equality and treating people with equality, where religion is not that. Like, it's meant to be, I think, but it isn't, especially in the way that you are obviously implementing it and believing it should be read. And I also think that queer people exist in every religion, and so do Black people. They also exist in every religion, you know, whereas you are specifically talking about Christianity. Like, I am absolutely certain you will have a problem if someone comes in and starts teaching religion out of like the Quran. You're not gonna be very happy. You're gonna go in and you're going to throw a fucking fit, because what you mean is that you want Christianity taught in schools, despite a lot of people not being Christian. So like, yeah, you want to talk about forcing your beliefs on people? You wanting to teach your religion in a public school, that is forcing your beliefs on people. Celebrating differences and acceptance is just celebrating differences and acceptance, and it's not impacting your learning at all. It's just an extra thing. You've kind of always learned that you have to treat people with kindness at school. School should be a safe place. School should be where you learn about the world. It's not just about learning like maths and English and science. It's how you learn to socialize. It's how you learn how to interact with other people. It's preparing you for the real world, you know? And in the real world, there are gay people, there are trans people, there are black people. So learning how to exist with them and be happy with people who are different to you and support them is very, very important. You should be taught not to bully people. You should be taught to love people and accept people. And so that is being taught at schools, as it should be. As it should be. Okay, are you ready for my favorite thing I've ever seen, ever? It's my favorite post I've ever seen in any of these videos. A slippery slope fallacy. Just let them get married. How does this affect you personally? 10 years later, we go off the deep end and there is state-enforced homosexuality. State-enforced. You have to be gay. Within 10 years of marriage equality happening, it is now illegal to be straight. If you are caught being straight to jail. It's illegal. How dare you be straight? Now, it's been 10 years now since gay marriage was legalized back home in New Zealand. So obviously, that means that it was recently passed that being straight is illegal. I'm gonna have to tell all of the people in Parliament who are married, and then all of my straight friends, I gotta warn them. I gotta tell them to call off their engagement. I gotta tell them to get divorced. I gotta tell them to leave their relationships. Stop looking for relationships because you're not allowed to be straight anymore. You have to be gay. This even applies to like bi, queer, pan people. We're not allowed to date. We aren't allowed to date people of the opposite gender. We aren't allowed to be in heterosexual relationships as queer people either. It's just illegal. We all have to only be in homosexual relationships. It is mandatory by law. Are you okay? You think in 2 years' time it's going to be illegal to be straight? In 2 years' time, look at your presidential candidates right now, right? Are either of them gay? Is anyone running queer? You think they're gonna pass a law that says you're not allowed to be straight when they're all straight and married? Like, what is wrong with you? What is wrong with you? I have to assume this is hyperbole, but like, you've said it really genuinely and it's so fucking funny. No one's gonna take you seriously if you say shit like this because, bro, what? This is the most absurd thing I've ever seen. I love it so much. I think this should be how it is. Being straight's illegal now. Straight to jail. I'm sorry. I don't make the rules. Sorry about it. America is no longer a nation. The history, heritage, and heroes that defined us have been torn down. We even play 2 different national anthems in our stadiums now. We don't even salute the same flag. What are we? I hate to break this to you, but, white people are actually the people who came in and fucked shit up. You're the ones who stole heritage and culture and destroyed people and like murdered people and, you know, like took their land away and stripped away all their rights and culture and such. Like you did that. That's actually what you did. It's not what people are doing to you now. It's what you did. And them claiming back pieces of their heritage and their land and their rights is like, you should get over that, actually. There's a lot of terrible cultural history within your country and people are allowed to embrace their own cultures, especially the ones that were there before you and, you know, the people you kidnapped from their homes and forced to be there who don't even know where they're from anymore because it was all erased. They're allowed to figure themselves out. This is on you. So, yikes. Also, what's the problem with 2 national anthems? My entire life in Aotearoa, New Zealand, we have had 2 national anthems. We do it in Māori and we do it in English. That's how it's always been. Well, it's not how it's always been. It was illegal to speak Māori for a while, but it's how it's been my whole life. You learn the national anthem in both languages. It plays in both languages. You sing it in both languages. Because we are celebrating the culture that was there before us. You know, the people that we came in and like slaughtered and stole land from. And it's trying to make some form of reparation. Obviously, there's still a lot of issues. Racism is still massive. There's still a lot of inequality there. But, you know, there are things that we're doing. And one of those is speaking the language more, including 2 national anthems. Like, get over it. Get over it. You're complaining about the tiniest, stupidest shit, man. Just deal with it. It's not the end of the world, okay? Here is a tweet from Elon Musk, because Elon Musk loves to tweet because he can. He says the darndest of things. And it is a pregnant person asking a doctor, is it a boy or a girl? And he says, we'll let the kindergarten teacher decide. Sir, you need to stop. All these people need to stop, because, like, do you not understand? I don't know how to get this through your thick heads, right? But it is not teachers deciding kids' genders. It is teachers giving them the freedom of expression where they are not granted that at home. You are forcing a gender on your child. Your child is assigned female at birth and you're like, you are a girl. You will do all of these girl things. You will have a pink room. I will only buy you things that are meant for girls. And you have a son and you're like, it'll be blue, it'll be trucks and Hot Wheels and Bob the Builder and yada, yada, yada. That is you forcing a gender on your child. Let your children choose what they want to do, choose what they want to wear, choose what they want to play with. And, like, sometimes they'll realize that their assigned gender doesn't match their actual gender. And that doesn't happen because they're allowed to play with trucks and they were assigned female at birth. That happens because that's just who they are. And you are the one forcing a gender on them if you deny them that freedom. Yeah? That's you. That's what you're doing. You are denying them of that freedom. They are at school allowed to express themselves and identify how makes them comfortable, and you are not allowing them to do that. The teacher isn't deciding for them. The teacher is just allowing them freedom of expression, as they should be allowed at home, but aren't. And the teachers don't tell you because, you know, their children have asked them not to because they don't feel safe telling you. If you make your house, your home, a safe place and you allow your child to exist freely as themselves, they're gonna tell you shit. But you don't do that. So, young Muslim kids stomp the pride flag as their mothers cheer them on. And they quote retweeted with, the anti-woke coalition is growing. Now, what I don't understand here, and this goes similar to the one we just talked about before, of, like, how is us telling children it's okay to be gay and exposing them to queerness in the media and in life because, you know, they're going to be exposed to it because it is real and there are queer people that exist and that is a normal part of life. How is that brainwashing when we're just saying gay people exist? Here, let's learn more about this history. Let's learn more about, you know, that and celebrate our differences. How is that brainwashing? But telling your children to stomp on a pride flag is not brainwashing, because they don't understand what they're doing. And you still have to tell them what being gay is in order for them to do that, unless you were just telling them to stomp on a pride flag without telling them what it means, which is still fucked up, right? Like, that's a fucked up thing to do. But for them to be able to do that and for them to mean it, you have to sit down and explain to them what being gay is anyway and why that is wrong and why you think that is wrong. So you are still exposing them to that, but you are now punishing them for it. Potentially that is who they are, and you are just making them feel unsafe and scared. And you're also encouraging them to harm people who are queer. On the side where we're telling people it's okay to be gay, no one is being encouraged to do any harm. You are actively encouraging people to hurt people. And you think that we're brainwashing people and that we're bad when you are telling people that they should, like, not exist, that they should just disappear. How is that okay? How is that not brainwashing? Like, mindlessly telling your kids to stop. I thought that kids weren't supposed to be involved in politics. I thought kids weren't supposed to be exposed to being gay. So why are they stomping on pride flags? How is that good? How is that anything? I thought that they were meant to form their own opinions. I thought they weren't meant to be being brainwashed into a political agenda, because that's what that looks like to me. Or is it only okay when you think that you're right? Because in which case, you surely have to see the other side there, right? Anyway, I'm going to end this video here because I am melting and cannot breathe in here anymore. So I'm gonna go open a window and shove my head outside and just gasp for air. I hope that you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe, leave a comment, all that sort of stuff. I'm here twice a week and I would love to see you again. A massive thank you to my Sprout and Above patrons, whose names are up on the screen right now. And a huge thank you to my Kiwi Cat patrons. Toulouse, Bobby, Josh, Mandy, Robbie, Ikazel, Jessica, Eldo, Ida, Quia Corey, Raven, Danielle, Elias, Evie, Rin, Jewel, Sparrow, Apollo, Taylor is Trying, Matto, and Chris. I love and appreciate you all so much. Thank you so much for joining. If you would like to become a patron, you go to patreon.com/savvycat or click the link in the description. For as little as £1 a month, you get my videos a day early, as well as podcasts a week early. And then for £3 and up, you get things such as outtakes, bonus mini podcasts, vlogs, live streams, and more. I appreciate it so much, so thank you. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram, The Queer Kiwi, and Twitter, That Queer Kiwi. I hope that you enjoy the rest of your day. Stay safe. Keep fighting. I love you. Mwah.